affected areas. It, however, stated that ongoing rescue and recovery operations are expected to provide more accurate figures.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Agbedotun, today arrived Benue State in north-central Nigeria, where ferocious marauders wreaked havoc last Friday, killed scores, and displaced hundreds of people. Benue State has been under heavy attacks by suspected herdsmen for some time. President Bola Tinubu yesterday directed security chiefs to implement his earlier directive to bring lasting peace and security to Benue State. The killings have lingered for years, with some linking it to intercommunal conflicts, as well as the quest for land dominance between the autonomous agrarian dwellers and nomadic cattle rearers. In another development, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, arrived in Yawata town in Guma local government area of Benue, where scores were killed in a coordinated attack on Friday night. Musa is expected to meet with Governor Hyacinth Alia in Government House before leaving.
To enhance security in Nigeria, the government needs to adopt a novel approach that deviates from the conventional methods. This assertion was made by social commentator Henry Ode and retired military officer, Group Captain Oladile Olasope retired, during an appearance on the BCO's Current Affairs Breakfast Program, AM 120. Our reporter, Fedora Afolagboye, who monitored the program, has the details.
Benue State, Nigeria faces recurring violence between farmers and others, fueled by land disputes and ethnic tension. Recent attacks in Yawata and Daudu communities by suspected Fulani herdsmen have sparked widespread outrage, resulting in significant loss of life and property, and calls for government intervention to end the crisis. Speaking on AM 120 about the relentless killings in Benue State, social commentator Henry Ode noted that the crisis, which has lasted for 10 years, is essentially a clash between farmers and others who have been weaponized by the political elites. He stressed the government needs to be more proactive and collaborating with local communities to gather vital information rather than relying on reactive measures.
What the governor needs to do now is to replicate what Governor Seyi Makinde did in Oyo State. Because if you look at the security situation in Oyo State, there is relative peace. And you cannot take away the fact that the creation of Amotekun has gone a very long way in curbing this crime at the very grassroots level. So the governor of Benue State at this point in time, there is no way you want to rely on the security agencies, the mainstream security agencies alone. There has to be a very deepened collaboration with the locals. You have to set up vigilante groups that will be empowered by government, because they do not have the power to empower themselves.
Also featuring in the program, retired military officer Group Captain Oladile Olasope stated that the long-term solution to the recurring crisis in Benue lies in identifying and prosecuting the sponsors who fund these attacks, bringing them to justice. He stressed that the police, as the first line of defense, must take a more proactive approach and not depend entirely on the military to handle security issues.
It is not that the military is not capable. It is not that the federal agencies are not capable. But we need to question them. How are they doing their work? If you are a general and this nature of thing keeps happening, then you should be questioned. You should be questioned about your competence.
They called on the government to bolster security through a multifaceted approach, including mobile and static patrols, drone surveillance, and community engagement. Fedora Afolagboye, BCOS News.
President Bola Tinubu says he will clear his schedule to pay a condolence visit to the people of Benue State on Wednesday. Tinubu stated this today when he commissioned the Greater Abuja Water Supply Network in the nation's capital. Opposition arrowheads Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi had criticized the president for not visiting the people of the troubled North Central state despite the killing of scores of residents by vicious marauders. Benue State has been under heavy attacks by suspected herdsmen for some time. The killings have lingered for years, with some linking it to intercommunal conflicts as well as the quest for land dominance between the agrarian dwellers and nomadic cattle rearers. However, the killings in the last few weeks have been without a break. At least over 160 residents were confirmed killed in a series of attacks by suspected herdsmen who wreaked havoc in different communities in the food-producing state.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, today called for a sweeping overhaul of Nigeria's national security architecture. He emphasized the need for a multi-pronged approach to tackling Nigeria's evolving security challenges. They called for a robust legal framework to enhance collaboration and intelligence sharing among security agencies. Both leaders made these remarks during a one-day legislative dialogue on constitutional review and national security architecture organized by the House Committee on Constitutional Review in collaboration with the Office of the National Security Advisor. Represented by the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, President Tinubu noted that it is time to align Nigeria's security framework with present-day realities, warning that neither full centralization nor outright fragmentation can sufficiently guarantee the nation's safety. He highlighted various threats from terrorism in the northeast and banditry in the northwest to farmer-herder clashes in the Middle Belt and separatist agitations in the southeast as issues that transcend the capacity of any single agency. Declaring the event open, Speaker Abbas described the dialogue as timely and necessary, noting that the complex and evolving security threats facing Nigeria demands a multidimensional and constitutionally backed response. He commended the House Committee on Constitutional Review, chaired by Deputy Speaker Kalu, for its dedication to delivering meaningful reform. Abbas further referenced legislative efforts already undertaken by the 10th House, including the National Dialogue on State Policing, workshops on comprehensive police reform, and engagements with regional partners on security sector governance.
The Nigerian Navy ship Pathfinder stated that its operatives have destroyed 5 illegal refining sites in the Ogbaegbema Ndoni local government area of Rivers State. The Navy said the sites used for massive illegal bunkering activities in the area had 62 ovens, 21 reservoirs, and 55 dugout pits containing approximately 50,000 liters of suspected stolen crude oil. The sites also contain 83 liters of illegally refined automotive gas oil and 20,000 liters of refined kerosene unlawfully. The commander of Nigerian Navy ship Pathfinder, Commodore Catherine Aniaku, disclosed this in a statement signed and sent to the media in Port Harcourt on Sunday night. Aniaku said the feat followed a recent operation against crude oil theft and illegal bunkering activities in the area on 14th June 2025 by the NNS Pathfinder Tactical Team. Aniaku noted that the Nigerian Navy, under the leadership of the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, remains committed to combating crude oil theft and illegal bunkering activities which pose significant threats to the nation's economy and energy security.
Justice Halilu Yusuf of the Federal Capital Territory High Court today granted bail at 2 billion naira to a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele. Justice Yusuf granted the bail after Emefiele was arraigned on an 8-count charge in which he is accused of, among others, unlawfully acquiring a housing estate comprising 753 units, allegedly stealing and taking control of billions of naira in proxy accounts. In the ruling, Justice Yusuf noted that Emefiele had been granted bail in 3 other criminal cases pending against him and that there was no evidence that he had jumped bail. He then proceeded to admit him to bail on the condition that he must produce 2 sureties who must own property worth 2 billion naira in either Asokoro, Maitama or Wuse within the jurisdiction of the court. Justice Yusuf ordered Emefiele to submit his travel documents to the court and directed that he must perfect the bail by Wednesday, failing which he would be remanded in custody.
Justice Musa Umar of the Federal High Court, Abuja, today rejected an application by the federal government to have Senator Natasha Akpotudwanga arrested for failing to appear for the start of her defamation trial. The government is prosecuting Akpotudwanga on behalf of Senate President Godswill Akpabio and former Kogi Governor Yahya Bello. At the day's proceeding, the prosecuting counsel, David Kaswe, told the court that the matter was for arraignment but that the defendant was not in court. Kaswe told the court that he served the charge on the defendant's counsel, which meant that the defendant was well aware of the matter. Counsel for Akpotudwanga, Jacob Usman, Senior SAN, told the court that he found the application of the prosecution strange and uncourteous. Justice Umar refused the application for a bench warrant and rather granted the application for substituted service through her counsel, which the prosecutor made in what seemed to be an afterthought. The judge, however, adjourned the matter to June 30, 2025 for arraignment.
The federal government has indicated that concerns over ground rent obligations involving several foreign embassies in the Federal Capital Territory will be addressed through established diplomatic processes. The spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimi Ebe Ebiemfa, said the matter will be taken up with the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, and handled accordingly. The assurance followed reports that the FCTA might take enforcement action, including the possible sealing of 34 embassies over unpaid ground rents dating back to 2014. According to a public notice from the FCTA, the embassies collectively owed over 3.6 billion naira in unpaid ground rent. The FCT Minister, Yesim Wike, had previously ordered enforcement on nearly 4,800 properties, citing prolonged non-payment, but President Bola Tinubu later intervened, granting a 2-week grace period for the affected individuals and organizations to settle their debts.
This broadcast of Newscope comes to you from the Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State, Ibadan. The Director General of the Oyo State Solid Mineral Development Agency, Mr. Agbedotun Oni, has warned that the state government will continue to be stern against illegal miners and individuals putting the lives of residents at risk through different activities that can degrade the environment. Oni stated this recently when the agency inspected the Ibadan Circular Road, where illegal excavation has led to the degradation of the area spanning Egbeda and Lagelu local government areas. He, however, condemned the operations of illegal miners and emphasized the need to preserve the integrity of the infrastructure and the environment. The team also took a journey to Igbeti in Oluyole local government of the state, where it inspected the site of the recent rock weathering, which initially caused a stir before the government explained the cause of the incident. In his reaction, Mr. Oni reiterated the state government's position that there is no cause for alarm, but warned the residents not to carry out activities near the rock until they are informed it is safe to do so. He added that the state government has been on top of the situation as it has been coordinating the local authorities, including the local government and the traditional institution, on necessary actions.
The Oyo State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, is set to coronate the new Ilerua of Erua, Prince Adebayo Adegbola. In a statement confirmed by the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Matters, Honorable Ademola Ojo, the grand ceremony is scheduled for Saturday, June 28, 2025. The statement said the appointment of Prince Adebayo Adebola as the Eleru of Erua is a reaffirmation and dedication to preserving Erua's cultural heritage and also to foster unity among its people. It enjoined everyone, including residents and stakeholders, to actively participate in the ceremony, emphasizing that the event will further strengthen communal ties, leading Erua into a future of growth and prosperity.
Ikola Baladon residential home of late Sean Kingsmaker, who was also the Bara of Ogbomoso land, High Chief Tijani Abioye, has been playing host to eminent personalities over the demise of the number 3 in hierarchy of Sean Kingmakers after Ariago and Jagun. High Chief Tijani, also 112 years, died on Sunday around 11:15 a.m. during an old age illness after 46 years on the stool of Bara of Ogbomoso. According to BCOS correspondent in Ogbomoso, Adiremi Akomu, who was at the residence of the late Kingsmaker around 1:20 p.m. today, Ariago of Ogbomoso land, High Chief Shobalaje Otolorin, had led other chiefs in Seun Palace on a condolence visit to late Bara residents. Other eminent personalities had paid condolence visits to the family, while sympathizers were seen consoling the wife, children, and other relatives. Speaking, the only surviving wife of the late Bara, Madam Amdalat Abioye, said though her husband was old enough, she would miss him a lot. The eldest child, Mrs. Alimat Salaudin, and the last child, Mr. Isa Abioye, described their father as best in the world, as the vacuum left behind would be difficult to fill.
Pupils across Oyo State public basic schools showcased their budding talents in a day competition organized by the State Universal Basic Education Board, OYOSTATE. The competition, which was tagged Governor Seyi Makinde Basic Education School Sports Competition, is the second of its kind, and it held at the Lekon Salami Stadium, Adamasingba, Ibadan. Our reporter, Temitope Abraham, has details of the event.
The Oyo State Universal Basic Education Board, OYOSTATE, hosted the second edition of Governor Seyi Makinde Cup, which had in attendance participants from all the zones in the state. The event featured track and field events, table tennis, ayolokpon, and football competitions. Speaking on behalf of the state government, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, Mrs. Oluyole noted that the Basic Education School Sports Competition's vision was to create a platform where every child, regardless of background, can discover our talents, build confidence, and embrace the values of teamwork and discipline.
Executive Governor, His Excellency Governor Seyi Makinde, has deemed it fit that this program should be sustained because it's a very good platform to recruit young talents. You see that people that participate in the Olympics, some of them start as early as 4 years with their preparation. So this is a very good platform to nurture and develop and identify talents, and that's exactly what we are doing.
In his remarks, the chairman, Oyo State Universal Basic Education Board, Dr. Nireni Adeniro, who was represented by a board member, Shem Oyewo, said sports is not just an extracurricular activity, but an important tool in shaping the life of a pupil, stressing its necessity in building the character, physical and mental well-being.
Yeah, my advice for the pupils here today is to remain focused on their education and see it as a privilege in attaining higher heights in the future, while also developing their skills and talent in sports as well.
Earlier in a welcome address, the Executive Secretary, OYOSTATE, Mrs. Olaide Oladipo, enjoyed participants to carry the lessons of perseverance and unity learnt at the competition into their various future endeavors.
This competition is more than just a showcase of our athletic prowess. It is a celebration of unity, discipline, and holistic development of our children.
The grand finale of the football competition came with great surprise after Ibadan Zone 1 came third, Okeogun came second, and Ibadan Zone 2 came first. The event concluded with the grand presentation of trophies and awards to outstanding athletes, marking the end of successful and memorable competition.
Extreme hunger will intensify in 13 global hotspots over the coming months, with 5 states facing the immediate risk of starvation, according to a United Nations report. The report, Hunger Hotspots, released today by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization FAO and World Food Programme WFP, blamed conflict, economic shocks and climate-related hazards for the threat of starvation in Sudan, Palestine, South Sudan, Haiti and Mali. The report, which predicts food crisis in the next 5 months, calls for investment and help to ensure aid delivery, which it said was being undermined by insecurity and funding gaps. The people living in the 5 worst hit countries have extreme hunger and risk of starvation and death in the coming months unless there is urgent humanitarian action, warned the United Nations agencies.
To end this edition of Newscoop, the main points again. The National Emergency Management Agency has confirmed that coordinated attacks by unidentified gunmen have triggered a humanitarian crisis in Benue State, with about 6,527 people displaced, including lactating mothers, pregnant women, and elderly persons.
President Bola Tinubu says he will clear his schedule to pay a condolence visit to the people of Benue State on Wednesday. Tinubu stated this today when he commissioned the Greater Abuja Water Supply Network in the nation's capital.
The Director General of the OYOSTATE Solid Minerals Development Agency, Mr. Agbedotun, has warned that the state government will continue to be stern against illegal miners and individuals putting the lives of residents at risk through different activities that can degrade the environment.
Extreme hunger will intensify in 13 global hotspots over the coming months, with 5 states facing the immediate risk of starvation, according to a United Nations report.
And that's all from Newscoop Desk for now. It was packaged by Bode Akinjala and delivered by Oluyole and
Oluyole. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to tune in for the Yoruba version at 8 p.m. Good evening.
Special secret that awakens taste buds. Mouth-watering wonder with awesome aroma. Terra seasoning cubes.
Terra seasoning cube turns your meals into a masterpiece.
Unwrap joy, unleash taste. Hey, come cook with Terra cubes. Come cook with Terra.
It's time to go big and colorful.